Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBM Cast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Always a fun deal going out. Game 7 Baseball, they got their tournaments up on their website, game7baseball.com. Make sure your tournament discounts don't go by the wayside. I believe next week is the deadline. We got Dave Penning coming on to talk some more about Game 7 Baseball next week, so don't miss that next Tuesday. And we will be discussing kind of all those things outside of the state of Missouri. We're going to go out into the regional areas, check out what's going on with Game 7 Baseball. So make sure you get your team registered at game7baseball.com. Today, Legion Baseball Talk. I've got two gentlemen with me, and I'm hoping I don't butcher your name, Jeremy, your last name. And it is Partney, correct?
That's correct. Perfect.
Huzzah. and joining also is Will Baker. If I blow that one up, Will, I'm in trouble.
No, you're good. Perfect. So.
And these two gentlemen are joining us for some Legion Baseball Talk. They're part of the group that's rebuilding. It's coming back down in Hillsboro, Missouri, and it's going to be sponsored by, I believe that's Blue Spring, or no, House Springs.
House Springs, yeah.
Yeah.
House Springs, yeah.
Post 783, am I correct?
Correct.
Man, look at that. And gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
So let's kind of start at the beginning here. Both of you gentlemen have ties with American Legion Baseball, played American Legion Baseball. Am I correct?
Yeah. So Will and I go way back. I think we met when we were like 14. Played Junior Legion Baseball together for 1 year, and then the next 3 years played Varsity Legion Baseball at Festus. So we know each other really well. I think it's a good situation for the both of us because we complement each other well. I kind of work more on the pitching side. Will works a little bit more on the hitting side, but we had a good experience, and I think that's been one of the draws and one of the reasons why we want to do this again is because of our experience, and hopefully we can make the players' experience good like ours was.
Will, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, me and Jeremy have, like he said, probably even before 14 when we started playing, we, have some mutual, family that know each other. So the whole thing was just very comfortable. When Chuck reached out to me, to get me involved, and then, Jeremy was, very interested in what we were doing. But like he said, kind of building what we had in the past. We got to win a state title and do a lot of really great things together, which, was an experience that I still look back on to this day. So, if we're able to provide that for these kids, just those experiences, I really think it carries over in so many facets of life. So.
Let me ask you this, guys. When you're talking about American Legion Baseball and your perspective, it wasn't that long ago. I'm sure you guys don't look like you're just ancient of days or anything like that. But your experience with American Legion Baseball to what baseball is kind of at this point, and I don't ever think you put the genie back in the bottle or anything that way, but how are you taking the approach with Legion Baseball into what the culture of high school baseball and summer baseball is today?
Jeremy, go ahead, Bob.
It's going to be a learning experience for me because I haven't coached in a while. I do think a lot of what's going on with the way they're teaching right now is kind of teaching the same thing in a different way. Back when Will and I played, I can't even hardly think of a club team that was around. It was almost all American Legion Baseball. So we'll have to compete with them and try to see if we can't get the best players to play for us. And we'll have to kind of prove ourselves in order to do that. But I think it's more similar. I mean, I haven't been involved in the games like Will has the last few years, but I have noticed just doing lessons that a lot of the same ways that I taught years ago still work. And I think I just kind of need to get up on the current times and then some of the new ways that they do things. I think that would be advantageous to me. But as far as the culture of it, it's different. I mean, there's a lot of guys playing, for their club teams, and they don't really have. There's not as many American Legion teams or as many American Legion players. So I kind of think there's a chance there could be some type of revival there because it's a cheaper option. And I think it does have a lot of value to the players. So we'll see. I'll have to learn as I go. I haven't coached in a long time, but it'll be interesting to see how it ends up being.
Kind of to add to what Jeremy said a little bit, the one thing that I'm real passionate about that I think needs added is the patriotic part of the American Legion. I think there are a lot of teams, and that was one thing when we played that I felt like kind of other than our play at times separated us from other areas, other programs, is that patriotic pride. That being a part of a post or an American Legion, and seeing and doing that, those sorts of things, before and after. And I think in select ball, even with the groups that we play against on the weekends with my organization, none of that's really done. That gets lost. There's not time to stop and do the national anthem or, just things like that to appreciate kind of the values and the reasons of why we're out there in the first place. So, and sorry, I think my cat's running through here.
I saw the tail. That's all right.
Yeah, a bull and dog. So if you see them pop in every once in a while, they wanted to be on the podcast as well. So Academy cats.
There you go. Well, I think that's interesting because you talk about the sportsmanship aspect, citizenship, community, those types of things, and I do think that that's important. And you hope that those are things that people can still be drawn to, as far as I think when you're coming into that aspect of it. What do you think the strengths are as you guys move forward into what you're doing with this particular club?
I think Chuck is a huge strength. He's very organized. He's done this before. He really does a good job of kind of working through problems, and is probably someone that's going to kind of mentor us. He's had a lot of success in the state of Tennessee. I think at the junior Legion level, he led a team to the Final Four, and the teams he's coached around here have done really well. But he's a true American Legion guy. He's a former military guy and a veteran, and someone that I think Will and I really appreciate that about him. And I think his intentions are really pure with the players. He really wants to make a difference in their lives. But I think all the things that he brings are definitely strengths. I think the fact that we'll have good teachers on our coaching staffs will make a big difference. It won't be players' dads coaching the teams, which you get a lot of, and I think that'll be attractive to players. But I think we're all on the same page. I think Will, Chuck, and I, and I'm sure Grant, we kind of have similar views about how we want to do this. We want to really affect a lot of positive change with these kids, and to me, that kind of looks like it's going to be successful because of that.
Yeah, I think I think having the right people involved like we do is a good way to build something long term, and that was one of the biggest reasons. And like Jeremy said, Chuck is I believe he served four terms in combat. He's very passionate about the Legion part too, and that's important. But there's so many teams are just starting teams trying to put good players out there and maybe trophy hunt, I guess, so to speak. I think everybody in our organization is kind of on the same page as far as wanting to build something long term, something year after year that people can take pride in, not only on the field but off the field. as opposed to just being another Legion team that's just trying to get guys. So
we've had this conversation, guys, in the past, and with guys from our podcast and whatnot, and talking about baseball and the difference that we see today. Because Legion, you play, you're playing 40, 50 games in a span of 6 weeks. Do you think there is something to that puts kids in more of an understanding of what baseball is moving forward there, that grind, that everyday push that really kind of, I don't know, makes it more like even a college atmosphere or something of that nature? Do you think that's a positive as opposed to just playing tournaments on a weekend?
I do. I mean, so in '96 we played, I think 60 games, maybe 65, and then we played in college probably 50 each spring that I was in college. So it does get you used to that. It's a little bit of a jump to college though, because it's not like it's just in the summer. I mean, it's something you're focused on the entire year. But I mean, I think it's okay if you play on the weekends, but there probably needs to be a lot of practices in there. But to me, the best way you get better is to compete, get in that arena, kind of learn, what you do well and what you don't do well, and then, learn how to respond when you fail, learn how to respond when you do well. But yeah, American Legion Baseball is set up, at least it was set up very similar to college baseball. I know our coaches at Festus would say that they're trying to have a program that's as close to a Division I program as possible. So all of us that played at Festus when we were there, that was a great kind of preview for what was ahead. So, I mean, absolutely is very similar to me.
So
and we did things differently there when we played too. That they're not always doing, just in the realm of it, and these are things you want to bring back into into what we're doing. More discipline, more. It carries over, in my opinion, it carries over in life more than any other sport, is the physical and mental grind, but in a positive way. So.
You hope it's positive, right? No, and I
the
agree.
Whole experience is.
Yeah. And I think that's something that as you're looking at these things, how are you developing the program at this point? You're taking this new program, you got kids, what the arena that you're walking into. How are you guys setting up this program for long-term success in those aspects?
Well, I mean, the Will's Academy is such a great resource, and we have kids coming over there every night. And there is a lot of teaching that goes on during those evenings. Will has probably already set up the culture, I think, in a lot of ways with him coaching the Bulldogs, and we're going to have so many players from the Bulldogs. But I mean, I haven't coached in a while, and I kind of went over there. I didn't know what the group of kids were going to be like, and this group of kids, they are just fantastic to work with. I mean, every single one of them listens. They're very coachable. The time I work with them, they give it everything they have. So I do believe that a lot of the guys that we have there already that are, coming over for lessons, and guys that have played for Will that'll be on the Hillsboro Legion team, they're the right kind of kids. They have the right stuff, and we just need to kind of round out our roster with more kids like that, because we believe they'll be committed. We believe they'll listen, and we believe they're, going to try to get better.
Will, just real quick.
I've kind of tried. Oh, sorry.
Just real quick with what he said there, your academy, you've been doing youth baseball there for quite a while, correct?
Been a couple years, correct, yeah.
Okay. What are those things, how are you bringing some of that club mentality into that program that you think will be effective and helping the program have success?
Well, kind of like Jeremy said, it's kind of a culture mentality. So, not so much a lot of organizations, they want to go and they just want to get good players, maybe coach them a little bit and just throw them out there and kind of trophy hunt. We're trying to do it a little differently, where I enjoy taking a kid who, doesn't know if he's an actual, player that's going to end up playing selector long term, but he's kind of on the fence about it. Taking them at a younger age and kind of helping them develop, kind of starting with the basics and helping them develop skills and kind of find out about themselves. And the part that I've enjoyed the most of it is I've had guys that were probably what you would call fringe players or some of the last guys making a roster on a team 3 years ago. And now a couple of them are legitimate college prospects. And I don't think they necessarily know it yet, but we see the development and how quick it's happening. And to me, like I said, I've tried to be a little different over here, where like I've tried to do this for the right reasons. Now, of course, we don't do it for free. We got to keep our lights on, but that's not been our focus, is trying to develop for, a money grab or a cash cow. It's, kind of focusing on the kids and their development first, and then, kind of going from there. So,
I understand and I appreciate, and a lot of people, and I understand, and I think most people that are into the youth baseball and things like that understand this is about developing kids and whatnot. But if you don't have a place to practice, especially in Missouri in the wintertime, it just doesn't work, does it?
No, I mean, I think that's the one thing that we have as an American Legion program that I don't know if anyone else around us does. And I think that's our probably best tool as far as trying to recruit the kid, is the cost is low. They can have access to the facility and lessons year round. And to me, being able to come in and pitch and get hitting lessons and work in that off season is what's going to make the difference. We have seen our players really explode. I mean, this off season, 2 of our pitchers are really got a lot better, and I know Will's got some hitters that have really improved. So it takes the work. It's hard for guys to kind of do that, in the winter, because there's not really very many places to do that. But one thing that would be advantageous to be a part of Hillsboro Legion would be that you would have access to an indoor facility.
Do you guys think that will make an impact? I mean, Hillsboro is not that far down the road from, South County, St. Louis. And I know there's a lot of clubs, and probably some kids are coming up from that area into those arenas. Do you think that helps you? And is that one of the things you understand will help you keep some of those kids in town?
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, I think it's our best feature. And I think Will and I, it's weird to say this, but I think we're very old school, and we believe in teaching as much as possible. We believe in trying to, make the kids' lives better. But I think that will be attractive to the potential players the more they find out about that. And I mean, we enjoy doing it. Like this evening, we'll be together, working 3-4 hours together. And I think we've both talked about how much personal self-gratification we get from helping the players. So I hope it brings in, a lot of great players over a long period of time. I think it will if we do the right things, but, we just have to prove ourselves first and earn that. So we're working on that now.
Yeah, it's not, kind of to, follow up with your, question a little bit as well. It's not really to take anything away from any other programs. It's just,
I understand.
There's a lot of good players out there, a lot of good programs, but they may not be doing it the right way, or some of them may not care to be doing it the right way. They may just be going off of a reputation. And like Jeremy said, we're going to, it's a work in progress. We're going to, probably take our lumps at times the first couple of years. But our goal is to, go out and try to compete with anybody and everybody at any point in time. And if we build something and kind of go about it the right way, I think in a few years, we could be, Hillsboro Legion might be something people will be talking about. So
I think it's interesting, and I think I believe this very much, and I get your opinion on this, guys. I think a Legion, if you're going to be successful, you're going to have to take this type of approach, having that opportunity to work with the kids, having some type of facility to work with the kids to grow and develop, to put them in that position to move to the next level. And that's always been kind of what Legion was about. But I think as the clubs have grown, I think they have outpaced a lot of the Legion ball. And I mean, I'm not saying that bad. It's just kind of what you see. Is that kind of the thought process you guys have seen when you started this process?
Yeah, go ahead, Will. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's kind of that thing from top to bottom. I mean, every one of these clubs that have joined have obviously do it with probably good intentions, but there's so many of them. Back when me and Jeremy played, it just wasn't like that. I mean, even in Little League, there wasn't. Both Little League, Legion, they've all been kind of watered down just from club teams pulling certain players at certain positions. And the part that's missing with it is, one thing that I enjoy about my older team with the Bulldogs, which will be a big part of our roster at Hillsboro Legion, is these guys have been together going on 3-4 years. And they keep coming back and they're learning each other. And I think with select baseball, it being as competitive as it is, you don't get a lot of consistency. Learning different things on different years, which fits different coaches and different guys. So, we're also trying to build something consistent. So, what they learn with our 11, 12U group, they'll know and understand when they get up into the Hillsboro, Legion program. So, you just don't see a lot of that. Guys are just kind of being cherry picked for positions and teams every single year for trophies. And I really want to get back to the teaching part of it. I think you can build a lot of programs long term that way. So.
Yeah, that's my thought on it too. I don't know club baseball probably as well as Will does because I haven't been around it. But I think one thing about us is there'll probably be a little bit more emphasis on practices and, like he said, teaching. I don't think we're just going to write out lineups and just put them out there. We're going to be coaching them hard during the games and trying to get them to learn and make them tougher. But a lot of that, a lot of what is valuable to them is the extra games. Those are the opportunities where they really get better. And hopefully, guys will be attracted to that and they'll kind of want to play for us because it is a little bit harder and they think they need to be pushed a little bit and they'll get maybe more at-bats this way or more innings this way. And I think Chuck's made it pretty clear that anyone that plays for our varsity Legion or junior Legion team, they're going to get a lot of at-bats and a lot of innings, and we're going to try to develop a player. He's very big on developing every player, and that's one of the things I like about him and I like about what we're doing.
I find it interesting because we talk about club baseball. Well, it's still a club, and I think if you're building a club the right way, and this goes to this, is you're taking the kids at the younger ages and they're growing, they're given the consistency in the instruction, the language, the philosophy, because a lot of these kids will play Hillsboro baseball, I'm sure, right? And so that relationship then grows into, the high school teams and how are you developing kids to move to that next level? Because I always believe that when you're talking about youth baseball, you're talking about that 8U to 14U level, you're just preparing them for high school. Is that your take on it, Will?
Correct. Yeah. At that level, you're just, kind of preparing them for high school, making sure that that's something that they want to do. And usually by the time you hit 13 or 14, whether you want to, keep playing baseball or football or whatever that sport may be. So it's kind of given them a taste for what select ball, maybe a little bit of what Legion ball is like in an earlier age. But it kind of gets them to a point where they understand they can either go forward and that's what they want to do as part of the process, or they don't, and that's okay too. But like I tell the guys, even when they get to the high school level, our goal is really to let them be able to play baseball as long as they want. Because I mean, and you probably know this as well as anybody else, but once it's gone, it's gone. There's really no coming back to it. So
this is why I do this.
Right. And I don't think they get it, and kind of the hard part for me of this whole process, one of the hardest things is seeing good kids that are good players that just kind of step away. Not even really for anything, coaching wise or anything. They're just, if their heart's not into it, and it's like, oh my goodness. Because I just don't think they understand, once it's done, that's it. There's no going back at all. And probably that's why we do this as well. Is if I could go back and play, I'd probably do that. But this is probably even more gratifying is watching, all kinds of kids with these abilities, and growing into something. So.
Jeremy, I want to ask this because in the information that was sent out from Chuck, you're dealing with a lot of the recruiting and things of that nature, and you have a position over at Mineral Area College. That's where you work, correct?
Correct. Yep.
What's your position there? I think you're in the sports department, correct?
Well, I was in the athletic department kind of in some way for about 18, 19 years. This is actually the first year I'm not in it, but my title here is physical education department coordinator, and I'm also chair of our curriculum committee. I did coach baseball here. It's been a while since I coached here, but you kind of learn when you're coaching in college. It's hard to make enough money to really get going. So I was just lucky enough to stay here and that they liked me and I was able to get a full-time job. But I think being at the college level in all aspects, academics, knowing what's going on with the baseball program, that will help these guys. I think a lot of them really don't understand what they're going to be getting into as far as what it takes to get a degree and how much value that has to them and how to go from there. But that's something I hope I bring. I think this experience working here has taught me a million different things, and hopefully most of the guys that we coach want to play in college and want to go to college, and hopefully I do a good job of advising them on that because of the position I'm in.
I think it's so cool because I think you guys have all the pieces. I'm seeing what's been done around. I think you guys have all the pieces in place to really make a quality situation for players that's attractive and building that culture, as you said, from the youth into the high school, because as well as I do, the recruiting process is difficult. It's not easy. And especially since, the COVID stuff that happened, everything is kind of, we're still playing catch up to a little degree. And then on top of this, you can speak to this, I'm sure, Jeremy. I mean, I don't know how it is with junior. It may affect, or you may not know too much, but the transfer portal now is it's crazy.
Yeah. It's huge at the college level. I mean, I think the basketball coach at Mac told me that on average at the Division I level, there was like 4 to 5 guys that transferred off of each team, averaged 4 to 5 guys, which is just unbelievable. But that was an effect of COVID and how they had to kind of, loosen up all the rules, and now they can't really tighten them back up. But, I hope it's the opposite way for us with recruiting long-term here. I would like for us to have mostly Hillsboro and Northwest kids, and then them have a lot of really pride in that program, knowing that if they play at those high schools, they have this great option. And if someone doesn't make another team and maybe they fit a need, or someone, just really wants to play for us very badly and proximity's close, that would be great too. So I guess that's the old-fashioned part of Will and I. We kind of, there's a part of us that would like it to be true community baseball and not lose guys every year. Keep the group from 13, 14 years old all the way up till they're 18, 19, and maybe that could be the difference in us winning a district title or whatever comes our way.
Will, let me ask you this. Goals moving forward, the program and whatnot. You're coaching this. Where do you see, you're going to be playing the American Legion schedule. Are you going to be able to get out and maybe play in a big time tournament, perfect game, or doing those types of things? What is the thought process and the goals with those things?
Well, basically the first year is all about competing with the higher end teams. Obviously Festus and some other, St. John, there's, quite a few, good established Legion programs in the area. If we can get on the field with some of those guys and compete at a high level with them, not necessarily about winning and losing the games, but, like in our situation this year, because we're starting out, a good portion of our 19U team will be 17, 18U kids. So whatever we run with this year, we can pretty much run it back with the same group next year and the years after, and then, start to build that consistency kind of from the bottom up. So honestly, that's what I'm hoping to, achieve. So I think a big thing, to add to what Jeremy was saying, is building that consistency. At Festus Legion, from, part of the culture that we helped build back in the day, guys want to play there without even knowing anything about the program, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's kind of what I want out of Hillsboro eventually, is hear about it and be like, yeah, those guys, they coach well, they compete well, and they do things the right way. And then eventually I think that culture will be set. And like I said, we've kind of started that with the WB Bulldogs in my academy. We've been very family oriented, but also very disciplined as far as, tried to be anyways from a baseball standpoint, and the way we go about things. So
I think it's interesting. I've been around this a long time. You guys sound like anybody else that's developing a club. And I think that's what's interesting to me. And I think that's the thought process, that the culture and moving forward, even with American Legion Baseball. And the opportunities, in my estimation, when you're talking about playing American Legion Baseball with the opportunity of the state, the regional, and then the World Series, there's some serious baseball there, and an opportunity for kids to experience something that you may not experience otherwise. Because I find it that when you're talking about some of the prep baseball PBR series stuff that they do, and they go, there's very elite talent that goes at that level. But there's a lot of space in there for a lot of really good baseball players to have really good high school careers, and into, if you're going to, say, start off. We talk about this all the time. Kevin Mulder puts this up all the time from Prep Baseball Report, talking about taking advantage of the A+ program. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that is a great tool for a college coach, because you basically don't have to use a scholarship. Each college has an allotment of scholarships, and they vary. I mean, when I was at UMSL, we had 2. I know a lot of schools that have 24, but so let's say you have less, and you can pretty much get a lot of kids in that won't have to pay anything really other than books and housing without using your scholarship money. So that A+, it not only has affected the athletics, obviously, but without A+ at this college, I don't know if we could open our doors. I mean, I'd say probably 50 to 60%, I'm just guessing, of our college kids are on A+. It might be higher than that. So that's a big deal, and that's a good thing that the state helps us out with. But with our guys, if they're looking to play at the college level, I guarantee you one of the first things the college coaches are going to ask is, is he an A-plus kid? Can I get him basically for free? He's trying to save money. So that should be extra motivation for those players to work hard at school and get in that program and complete it. And then they would be more attractive to these college coaches.
Boom. Just like that, right?
Yep. Yeah. That's how it goes.
Pretty smart guy sometimes.
No, it's great information, and I think you guys have covered a lot of bases within this structure within what you've formed, and I'm seeing this. You have recruiting there and an understanding of what recruiting is about, coaching, organizational skills from the top down. I love what I'm hearing from you guys as far as your program and how you guys are going about it. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I just love the fact that you guys were able to bring that back into an area. As you said, you also got, SCMI? Is that the way it DeSoto there?
Yeah, I think that's DeSoto Legion. I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
We feel like probably going to draw. I think I said this earlier. I think most of our players are going to come from Hillsboro and Northwest eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of good players that are in our area that we draw from, our district. So I'm excited about those guys. I'll be going to a lot of Northwest high school games. I'll be going to a lot of Hillsboro games, and just trying to get to know the players. I haven't watched a high school baseball game in probably 15 years. So I got to get back out there and just kind of maybe go on a little bit of a listening tour, see what I can learn from people that, I know, and see what's really going on.
Yeah. And there's some really good baseball down in your guys' neck of the woods. I mean, Festus was just in the Final Four, Class 5 Final Four last year. I was down there covering a lot of that. We had Fort Zumwalt East, which is where my kids went to school, was down there. And we were down with it and got to meet a couple of the kids from Festus, the coach, talk to them. That's a really good program down there. So, there's a lot of good baseball, as you said, from St. John or Cape Girardeau on up. In that area, there's some really good, talented baseball teams.
Well, I think for Jeremy and myself, I don't want to speak for him, but playing at Festus is that. I mean, that's kind of the standard. Especially what Festus used to be. We were fortunate to play for Pat Bone, before he retired. We just did things differently there. We'd go out, in 100-degree weather and sweep a doubleheader, and if it wasn't good enough or up to our standards, we'd be running and practicing for 2.5 hours afterwards. People hear that now and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy." But it got to the point for us that that's who we were, and so we were running out onto the field and doing the running before coach even had to tell us, because that was kind of so when we'd show up to places, we felt like we always knew something that they didn't, which means we were going to outwork them whether we had more talent or not. And that's kind of how you set a culture, and people remember that. People look over there, and like I said, that's the way they want to go about things. And that's kind of the precedent that they set that we want to become, is, kind of what, and I don't know what they are, as much detail as I know what they used to be, but that's kind of where we want to take this and head this, is how they definitely used to go about, the way they did things over there.
Yeah, Festus 253 is the standard. Will and I were very lucky to be able to play for them. And, I think the coaches that we had were a much higher level group of coaches than usually what we went up against. And it wasn't just that they had knowledge. We had 4 guys that were all, to me, all capable of being college head coaches. And I think Pat Bone probably, in my opinion, is the best manager, head coach that I've ever been around. And I was around a Division I coach for a year in Tennessee. I've been around some good people. So we were very lucky. That's obviously something that we'll extract a lot from our experience when we were there. And I think just trying to remember how we did things back then and what worked, and implementing that in our program is something that we'll probably gradually do a lot of over the next few years. And the more things you do right, the more likely you are to develop a culture and have success.
I love the fact, you guys, and what you alluded to. I think that's a big key, setting expectations. Here's what we expect of you. And I always believe if you do that right from the get, and you set that standard there, players know what's expected of them, and they will respond. I believe that very much. And that's what I hear from you guys as far as the club is concerned. Gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
You got to come back on now. We got to, come back and see us. I'd love to, maybe we get down there with the cameras and check out some practices and whatnot in the future here. We'll come down and meet face to face. That'd be fun.
I got a nice little corner bar for the adults in my academy. So if you ever want to come down and have a formal and check it out, you're welcome to. So
after the kids leave, though, after the players leave,
right. There is no 21 allowed behind the bar, so we're not that kind of program. So don't get any ideas. So.
There you go. And very good. Hey, you know what? Thank you very kindly. I appreciate the offer.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, again, thank you. We'll try and get Chuck on. Chuck Johnson, who started this whole process, and looking to get him on the show. But please, gentlemen, we'll love to have you back, talk some more baseball as we get in there. Good luck to you. Thank you again. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Remember, if you like what we're doing, if you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button. That's what we appreciate, that all that support. And next to that, hit the dinger, because that's what we do around here. We hit dingers. And that will get you all your notifications for upcoming episodes of YBM Cast. Appreciate you joining with us. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters, hit them where they aim. We'll see y'all next time.